Hey, this is Senator Justin Reedy coming to you as we get close to the end of the 8th week of the 2026 General Assembly session. This week has probably been the busiest week so far of the session. Long hours in hearings in committee, and then also a lot of activity on the floor as more bills come out of committee and we begin to debate and discuss them on the Senate floor. I've had a number of issues that I'm watching closely. One of them is that there's, again, always seems to be a push by the General Assembly on softening the consequences for criminal behavior with not really a lot of perspective about what victims have gone through. Over the last couple of years, we've had some wins on public safety. We've had some increased enhancements for certain types of criminal activity, like possession of stolen firearms, which we passed last year. But with that, and that's been positive. But with that, there's been a lot of tandem bills that just make it harder and harder to keep people who've committed serious crimes in jail longer. And now we've had legislation this week we've been discussing and debating on the Senate floor that would change the automatic charging of juveniles as adults for a number of serious crimes, make them instead be automatically charged as juveniles, even for some pretty serious crimes. We've whittled the bill down somewhat to where it's whittled down the number of charges that would now be automatically juvenile versus adult. But it's still a bill that, why is our priority when we're just starting to see some progress on juvenile crime, especially in places like Baltimore, thanks to Ivan Bates and him actually prosecuting crime. We've actually started to see a little bit of a crest come down on the numbers. But now this General Assembly wants to pass a bill that says you can't try juveniles as adults for certain crimes, including some pretty serious ones. If you go to juvenile court and you get convicted as a juvenile, your sentence is obviously much shorter as a juvenile, and then your record is wiped clean once you become an adult. But if you start at the adult court, there's an opportunity for more sentencing. And so that bill is a legislation we're kind of fighting against because it's another thing where you're watering down justice for victims because of compassion for criminal activity. And obviously there's some juvenile crimes, many crimes that a juvenile might commit the first time or even the first and second time. Understandably, we want to reform them, give them another opportunity. But when we're talking about serious crimes with things like guns or repeated offenses, there needs to be an ability to really go after that. The way this bill would work is it would actually force, right now, if someone's charged as an adult as a juvenile, the public defender can appeal to waive that down to juvenile court. And oftentimes it is, but not always. But this will make it to where the state's attorneys have to go and try to get it waived up to adult court. So a little bit of a complex issue there, but that's one thing that we're also trying to defeat, a bill that would get rid of the ability to clear homeless encampments, because it would basically say that vagrancy is now not illegal. So there's a bill to try to just strike out the word vagrancy out of the statute that says it's illegal. So I've been trying to hold that off, trying to talk with, actually had some interesting bipartisan cooperation of people who understand that's a serious issue for a lot of towns and cities. So that's another criminal involved, public safety involved thing that I'm working on fighting this week. Quick update, we're going to have the state budget is moving through the budget committee process right now. We really have not heard much from Democratic leaders on how they're going to close sort of this budget gap and then future budget gaps, because the governor's plan includes a lot of cuts to things like DDA, but no real relief for working people on their taxes or fees. And the budget also includes not cutting some things I think need to be cut. And so that budget's going to become coming out of that committee in the next week or so. So the state budget will be a big topic in the coming week or two. And I'll try to give you a little more detail about the specifics of that as we move forward. And then finally, we're working very closely to try to maximize what we can do to protect the disability community. We've had legislation in my committee, Finance, to try to be sure that people are not going to get kicked off of their Medicaid waiver and the funding that they need for services that are providing to these developmentally disabled folks who we all can agree that's a role of government, is taking care of those kind of people, helping those kind of people. So that's, as you can see by this video update, a lot of moving parts on some broad, complex issues. Next week, I'll try to circle back on budget and maybe also an energy update as well. We're working through that as well to try to bring down, as we've said, energy prices, try to address some of the failed energy policies of the past that the Democratic majority has rammed through. And I think some of them are now finally seeing the light, but we'll see. Anyway, I really appreciate the opportunity to serve you. I hope you have a great weekend, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions.